We have Tony Allen with Brevard County Woman Newspaper. Jessica Brace with Affordable Graphic Solutions. She'll be talking about web communications. Jay Brewer with Texita. And he'll be talking about video communications. And I know I don't look like Matt Solomon, and I don't own Ben & Jerry's, which is a real bummer. But he couldn't make it today, so I'm filling in for him. And I'm going to talk a little bit about social media and Facebook. I probably won't do it as much justice as he does, but we do use that for the Women's Business Center. So we're going to start out with Tony, and she's going to tell you a little bit about using print media for marketing. Okay, move that over. Move the microphone over.
Sorry. Hello, everybody. I'm Tony Allen. I'm the publisher of Brevard County Woman Newspaper. Print media is obviously the most traditional form of media and for your advertising dollars. It's still applicable today, although the market is changing and additional media venues are always a good thing. But the traditional print advertising is a display ad. If you've seen the newspaper, they're very colorful. Sometimes they're colorful, that give a call to action to your readers to come to your place of business to purchase your products or services. And the other kind of marketing that you can do in print media is sponsored editorial, where you can go into an article and tell the story of what your products do or tell the story of your business. And that is a good way, especially for women. That's one of the ways that women respond, is through research, and they find out that you are the expert in what you do through a sponsored editorial. That's good for me.
I'm just going to ask you a couple questions, Tony. Just so, for print media, how many people can it reach when you do stuff in print? How many people can you get reach with print media?
Well, depending on what publications that you choose, my publication is regional, and so it reaches out through all of Brevard County. We market specifically to women, so we reach about 35,000. The periodical type newspapers or publications are a little different than like daily newspapers. They're out there for an extended period of time, so your coverage and your exposure to your market is a little bit longer than, say, a daily newspaper.
And what are the costs? What can it cost you if you're looking at print media?
Cost for print media ranges from, very reasonable all the way up to very expensive, $50 to thousands of dollars, just depending on what you want and what kind of coverage you want. Yes. Well, print media has its strengths, obviously, and its weaknesses, but one of the things is to have visual, which you can have in other venues, but this is something that you can hold in your hand. With my having a women's newspaper, I specifically know a little more about how women respond to that kind of thing, and women are very visual, and photos with an editorial, images within a display ad, they're very powerful, and you can get your message across without it being blatant. Women respond very well to subtle and what's the word? Symbolic.
So if a business is starting out, what would you say that they could possibly afford print media? Because it seems like it's kind of expensive sometimes.
Well, expensive is a relative term, so depending on, first of all, you have to select who your target market is. You have to know that. And obviously you don't want to choose a print media or any other kind of media that doesn't hit your target market. You have to make sure that that media reaches who you want it to reach and in a way that you want it to reach them.
And how do you find out, like once you select your market, how do you find out what print media is specifically for that market? Is there somewhere they can go look? I mean, you know, how do I determine that I want to call your newspaper rather than Florida State, even though both of them meet my demographics? I mean, is there somewhere to look to figure that out?
I don't know if there's any kind of a website that you can go to, you know, compare, but definitely making phone calls so you can compare and ask those pertinent questions so that when you spend those dollars, you spend them the most wisely and get the most value.
Does anybody else have any questions? Yes.
I think there's a lot of different things that are being done. Some people are have decided that they're too afraid in these economic times to advertise at all, and obviously this is not the time to do that. You've got a lot of businesses that are going under. You want to make sure that your name is still out there through all this time, so that when people do have disposable income to spend again, they know your name. They've seen your logo. They've seen your advertisement.
Okay, Jessica is going to talk about web.
Sure. I'm Jessica Brace, and I'm from Affordable Graphic Solutions, and we do graphic design for both websites and print. And a lot of websites, people will call me up and say, I have a new business and I want a web page, and here's my budget, or how much is it going to cost? What can you do for me? And my very first question to them is, I can build you the best website in the world, but what are you going to do with it? And a lot of people don't really think about that. It's like, okay, you have a website, who's going to come to it? It's kind of like putting an ice cream store in Siberia. If you don't have traffic coming to your website, people just aren't going to know you're there. So you really have to do something about it. So the biggest question, the first question I ask is, what are you doing to drive traffic to your site? And I have some people who say, well, I'm just a small mom and pop business, and I'm going to put my website address on my business cards, and I'm going to go to networking events, and I'm only looking for local clients because maybe they're a plumber or something like that. And that's all that they're interested in, and they don't need a lot of clients. But then there's other people who come to me and say, oh, I want to be the next Amazon.com, and I have this great idea, and this is what I want to do. So it really depends, but we'll focus more on small businesses because that's probably what most of you are here today and what you can do. And it used to be that you had to do a lot of search engine marketing, keywords, and all of that, which is still very important. But there's a lot of different ways that you can promote your website and work with your website, whether you do it yourself or whether you do it within the local market as well. One of the things that we do with websites that's been great, and we'll go back to the plumber example, whereas the plumber came to me and he said, well, I want a website and I only want one page, and that's what I have for my budget right now, and I just want to have a presence on the web. Well, we did that, and he listed himself. He joined the chamber. He got listed in the chamber directory. He printed his website address on his business cards whenever he sent out postcards, his return address labels, his invoices, anywhere that he could put his website address, he put it to make sure that people knew that he was there. And he had little sections on his website that would ask questions, but he didn't really get a lot of traffic from it because he was actually only contacting people that he already knew. So he came back to me after about a year and he said, well, what else can I do to enhance my website? And that's when we talked to him about doing different things. It was like local search engine positioning, which is a little bit different in that what you can do is, it used to be, you had a website, you submitted to the search engines, and then your website would get listed nationwide, worldwide. Well, if you're a local business, you're not really looking for someone to purchase your plumbing services who's in California. But what you can do is list your website on other local directories. And what happens is your website then becomes listed higher and higher in the search engines under specific key terms, such as Brevard County plumber, Melbourne plumber, those types of things. So slowly over time, what happened is he listed himself. This was a project he took on himself. He listed it, and he ended up getting higher and higher rankings. He's gotten phone calls from Channel 6 News because they found him on Google. He's been several clients. He gets inquiries all the time. So there's a lot of different things that you can do. And I know Don's going to talk about new media as well, Facebook and those type of things. So really with a website, there's a lot more you can do, but it depends on what your market is, where you want to go with it, and who you're trying to reach. And that comes back to the print marketing too, is that if whatever your marketing is, you have to find out where your customers are that you want to have and how to reach them. Where do they hang out? What do they do? You know, what things are they looking at? What are they reading? What kind of websites are they going to? And figure out how you're going to get your information out in front of them.
Any questions? I don't know what they're doing. Okay, that's it? Okay. Huh?
You can keep yours.
Okay. Nobody wants my microphone. I don't have cooties.
Hi, my name is Jay Brewer, and I'm the CEO of Texita. I'd like to explain a little bit about where that name came from because it's kind of an interesting story. But first, I want to thank Dawn Miller-Kermani and the Women's Business Center here at FIT. I almost said UCF. At FIT for a great expo, and I appreciate the opportunity to be on the panel. You're always looking for an angle. Always looking for an angle when you're marketing your company. And the reason that we came up with the name Texita is because, if you've never heard of it before, Esperanto is the attempt at a universal language here around the world. And it was developed back in the late 1800s, early 1900s or so. And Texita actually is the Esperanto word for woven, W-O-V-E-N. And what that means to me and why we chose that is because your marketing, your communications, is a woven tapestry attempting to reach out to your marketplace. You do that through print media. You do that through online media. You do that through promotional products and services. You do that through marketing services that both the print media environment and the newspaper environment and Jessica's kind of company can offer you too, whether it be online or offline. And so your overall marketing strategy, your overall communication strategy, what you're trying to do is weave. You're trying to weave a brand. You're trying to weave a construct that people can become familiar with. And as a result of that, what's going to happen is you're going to be targeting your audience. The key to your success in your marketing is targeting, period. Hands down, there is no other way to be successful except through targeting. And what happens is after you target, opting in occurs. So you target your audience through whatever mechanisms, online or offline, and that's perfectly fine. But ultimately, somebody opts in, and the most obvious opt-in that you want them to work with you on is the purchase of your product or service. You want a transaction to occur. They've opted into your message. They've opted into your product or your service. What's going to happen after that is up to you, and that is that you must deliver your product or your service, your information, your news, your entertainment, your church service, whatever it is that you're delivering. You have to deliver that with a high degree of quality and respectability so that it becomes a viral thing, so that people will then take your information and act virally with it. What does that mean? That means that they're going to tell other people. You've been to a restaurant or a movie or anything, and you've told other people about your experience. So it becomes key and critical that anything that you do from a marketing perspective, anything that you do from a branding effort or a branding perspective, attempts to weave a thread into the tapestry of your overall branding and marketing efforts, period. And so I would encourage you to use print. I would encourage you to use postcards and mailers and brochures. I would encourage you to revamp your website. I would encourage you to spend money. I was on my way back from Orlando to Melbourne about 3 weeks ago, listening to an XM radio business show, and the guru says companies that will be the most successful in this downturn are the companies that continue to market most effectively and efficiently, period. You got to continue to tell people that you're out there. And one of the ways that you can continue to tell people that you're out there, in addition to your print in addition to your promotional products, in addition to your websites or any of the other hard or soft copy materials that you might employ, include real online media-centric communications and marketing capabilities and techniques and strategies and tools and products and services and solutions. And that's what we're in the business of doing. We're in the business of bringing your message, your marketing, your branding efforts into the 21st century through, I'll say this again because it's really the easiest way to kind of synopsize it for you, online, media-centric, I'll add a couple of more words, live and on-demand communications and marketing. And in the real world, what does that look like? Well, let's talk about some statistics to begin with, and it'll kind of frame things up for you for just a moment. There are about 4 billion cell phone subscriptions on the planet. 4 billion. And there's about 6.7 billion people on the planet. So that's a lot of cell phone subscriptions globally. There are about a billion with a B, 1.5 billion people who use the internet every single day. Every single day. And they send out about 70 billion emails every single day. Both of those marketplaces are expected to grow significantly. In fact, the internet user base is expected to double in about the next 7 or so years, which means that 3 billion people will be using the internet. It's very unlikely that you're going to put your cell phone down. It's very unlikely that you're going to put your email address aside. It's very unlikely that if you have a website that you're going to put that website aside. You're going to continue to use those traditional and not so traditional tools going forward. I want you to know that both of those industries, the cell phone industry and the online user environment, have grown to those proportions in the last 8 years, 33% increase. Internet users have grown from 360 million to about 1.5 billion in the last 8 years, and that's about a 460% increase thereabouts. It's huge, huge, huge growth in those two industries. People are not putting their cell phones away, they're not putting their websites away, they're not putting their email away. Now, let's change gears for just a moment. Remember I told you 70 billion emails go around the planet every single day. It is the most effective form of marketing on the planet. Email marketing is the most effective way for you to communicate and market with your targeted audience that chooses to opt in, that will act virally on your behalf. Those are very key, critical components for you to realize. So what are you looking for when it comes to new media? What are you looking for when it comes to video, audio in your website, video and audio in your email, video and audio live about your product, your business, or your service, your news, your information, or your entertainment? What are you looking for when it comes to adding a new thread to the tapestry of marketing and branding efforts that you're moving forward with? Online, media-centric communications and marketing, whether it's live or on demand, may be a component to your overall strategy. And so what we have are what we call tools of attraction. Has anybody heard of the movie called The Secret? Or maybe you've heard about the laws of attraction? It's all about attraction. You are trying to attract an audience. You're trying to maintain that audience. You're trying to get that audience to act virally on your behalf, to take your message to their friends, their family, their relatives, their associates, their colleagues, their vendors, their clients, their prospects. And so when you can take your message in an online way, continue to do what you do traditionally. You need those, especially in the local market. You absolutely need to use the traditional forms of media, communications, and marketing that you always have. But if you're looking to garner, take a website that gets a phone call from Channel 6 that's 60, 70 miles away. It's pretty interesting if your message, your marketing, your overall address to the universe that you're trying to reach out to garners you additional media exposure. One of the things that Jean Newell, I don't know if you were here for Jean Newell's talk earlier, she's got a booth out there, but one of the things that she and I are putting together is how to meet the media, what to say when you're in front of the media, how to get your product, your business, your information associated with a media strategy that is comprehensive, which includes print, It includes online, it includes new media, and it may include actually getting in front of traditional media, whether that be a newspaper reporter or a television reporter, or maybe even your own reality show as an online broadcast. Yes? Actually, I do know some statistics. It's a very good question. One of the things that you must have in order for you to get those statistics, though, is a measuring system. So if you're using Yahoo or you're using Roadrunner to send out all of your emails, you really don't know if anybody opens them, other than they may make a phone call or send you a reply that says, I opened up your email. So if you're going to be using online email campaigning solutions, you need one that will provide you the statistical analysis, what we call analytics. You gather the metrics, you run the statistics, it creates the reports. All of that is called analytics. It's a study of the numbers. And so you send out 1,000 emails through your online email campaigning tool. You know who opens it. You know how many times they opened it. You know what links they clicked. You know what videos they watched. You know what audios they listened to. You know who they forwarded it to. You know if the person who they got forwarded it, whether they opened it or not, etc., etc., etc. So we build systems for people that allow them to capture the statistics so that they can do two things. The first one is refine your message if you need to, and the second one is target that message more effectively to another audience or the same audience more effectively. So yes, email campaigning is very powerful. I'll give you statistics from recent email campaigns that we've done for a number of our clients. An email goes out, let's just keep it to 100, but I'm going to take the thousands that we've sent email campaigns out to and bring that down to a manageable number of 100. We've sent out literally tens of thousands of emails, dozens of campaigns. Those campaigns, on average, are yielding a better than 50% open rate, better than a 10% forward rate, and the links inside those emails, we're watching how many of the links are being opened, and traditionally in our studies, if you've got 3 to 4 links, that's about the most you want to have in an email, and statistically, those links are being opened up about 50% of the time. So you can look at that a couple of different ways. 2 of the 4 are being opened, or 4 of them are being opened by 50% of the people. But statistically, that's what's happening. What's good, though, is that those email campaigns are actually being forwarded on to other people. Go ahead. We demographically and analyze that a couple of different ways. Let's say you're in real estate, and you're going to be sending out a real estate video email campaign to all of the realtors in Brevard County. So you've got the list from MAAR, the Melbourne Association of Area Realtors, and you send that out to all of the realtors. So you know how many people are on the list already because you put that list into the system. You know that it's been delivered, you know that it's been opened, you know that it bounced, you know who forwarded it on. So in that case, your demographic is an industry vertical versus an age group. If you have collected the age information, then I can provide you an age-related statistic. The systems that we employ on behalf of our clients allow you to create your database the way you want it to be created. What do you want to capture about the people that you're interested in communicating with? One of the ways that we do that is through what's called a squeeze page or a lead capture page. It's just like a contact form in a website, basically, except all of the information that's captured just doesn't feed your email, it feeds your database. It feeds your statistical analytic system. And so if you're collecting name, age, address, phone, fax, email, website, anniversary, birthday, you're getting a lot of information, a lot of demographics about the people that you're wanting to correspond to. If you're asking for that information and it's being filled out, then I can provide you a statistic on it. The system provides you a statistic on that. If you're not asking for that information, then it's going to be a little bit challenging to get that statistic for you. But the system has the flexibility. There's a variety of systems out there, by the way, but there are a variety of systems that allow you the ability to collect the information that you define, The information comes into your database, and based on that, you're able to refine your message and fine-tune who you then send your message back out to. We didn't measure age in these campaigns. We were only measuring industries. We're only measuring industry verticals. Yeah. But we could measure age if we put that into our database. We did not measure age in this case. Statistically, I probably would say it's probably between 30 and 50, 30 and 60. You know, the business community, because these were business people, mostly business owners for a variety of reasons. I had some prepared comments, but they're not necessarily germane for this kind of free-form discussion. But I can answer a lot of questions that have some statistical relevance. We've done campaigns for Pepsi, Heineken USA, Motorola, 1-800-COLLECT, Hard Rock Cafe, House of Blues, and many, many others. And we started doing this kind of work back in 1999, 98, 99 for those kinds of companies. The evolution of what has happened in the marketplace is now that there's a media component. Your PC, your internet connection, the ability for the encoding and compression of this kind of data that's being moved across the internet is more readily available. Video is a very, very highly dense data-oriented stream of bits and bytes. And so you need a little more bandwidth to send that down the line. So you come at that from two different ways. You expand the size of the pipe and you compress the size of the data. That allows the data to move down. That's why you can watch a YouTube video. That's why you can receive a video email from me and watch it on your computer. That's why you can create a video email on your computer and send it to your audience, whoever that might be. That's why you can do a live video broadcast from your home or your office about your product, your business, or your service. So adding these strategies to what you do today, whether it be in print or whether it be other online mechanisms that Don is going to mention, Facebooks and YouTubes and MySpaces and Twitters and whatever else that is out there, and the things that Jessica brings to the table, you know, the typical business cards and postcards and website design and graphics work that she does. All of these work together. You need all of them to fully flesh out your marketing strategy and ensure that your branding efforts meet with positive results. At the end of the day, you want to be able to measure it, however, and that's going to be key. It's the only way you know how effective it is. I do have a statistic. I'll read it to you very, very quickly. This is a real example. A business sends out a direct mail piece to 1,000 people. Costs, and they're offering a $19.95 discount or a $19.95 product. The artwork costs about $250. The printing cost was about $500. Mailing costs about $280. You can correct me if you think that these are out-of-line statistics. This is a real campaign, by the way. Total cost of $1,030. Direct mail typically gets anywhere from maybe 0.5% to 3 to 5%, really depending on the mail campaign that's done, how quality your database is. But if you send it out to 1,000 people and you got 30 sales, that's 3%. For a $19.95 offer, you made $598 in gross sales on a $1,000 campaign. You lost over $400. Was not an effective marketing campaign in terms of economics. You didn't spend your money very wisely. And your return on investment in terms of real sales was below what you actually spent on the campaign to tell people about your discount. So you don't use this in all of your applications. You do use it to supplement your campaign. So you advertise something in the newspaper, you follow it up with a direct mail campaign in order to drive people to a live broadcast or a video email campaign about your product or your service that you can actually show and communicate to people about, provide testimonials on. These things work in concert with one another, and we as a team or we as individuals can help you work on campaign strategies, marketing strategies, and branding strategies that leverage the benefits of all of these things together. And that's what you're really after. Spending your money wisely, getting the most bang for your buck, and not missing out on any of these opportunities so that they work for you collectively. Okay? Question?
Okay. Now,
Any questions?
Questions? No. Well, of course, Matt Solomon was supposed to be here from Ben & Jerry's, and he has a lot of statistical stuff, so I can't really help with that. As you all know, the Women's Business Center, we have a very small budget, so we don't have the fundage necessary to do all of these things, except for by the kindness of their hearts when they donate their services, which they do all the time. And at one point in time, we had actually looked at a campaign, a print campaign, to print out some brochures and to mail them out. And going back to what Jay said, the return is probably about 3%. It was going to cost us about $1,000, and we might get maybe, a couple $100. Well, we don't have that kind of money to spend. So we've started to use, especially since we have a lot of events here, is Facebook. And Facebook has been great for us in the terms of being able to basically go viral, because when it's sort of like the commercial in the 70s about the shampoo. If you tell your friends, and they'll tell two friends, and so on and so on and so on. And so that's what we've been starting to do, is to put our events up on Facebook, and then I send it out to my friends, the ones that I think will be interested, the ones that are here and around the area, rather than my friend in Hawaii or whatever. And we've started to see a great way of them turning around and telling their friends. So we've increased our outreach simply by using the internet and using Facebook. Now, I know Matt uses it as well for Ben & Jerry's, and as a matter of fact, I got the little free scoop day, and I forwarded it to I think it was at least 300 of my friends, because I have a lot of friends from the center. So that day, and I'm not saying it's because of us, but because of what he does, given away 2,600 scoops of ice cream that day, which is amazing in one day. And he helped raise about $1,600 for the Brevard County schools. And he had started to tell me that he had placed an ad, in Facebook, there are little things, place an ad or whatever. And you can pick out what your target market is, where you want it to go, and then it tells you how much it'll cost. And he had done one of those, and I apologize because he and I never got together to get the statistics because he's been swamped. But I know that he told me he had, you put it up there, and within an hour, he had 6,000 hits. So that can be, depending upon what you're trying to reach, a very economic tool for you to use. I would recommend, however, which I learned the hard way, because I didn't know a lot about Facebook, and I set up my own account, and I really set it up for the Women's Business Center. But I had mine, and I started a Women's Business Center group. Well, the group has very limited functions that it can do. And so my husband kept getting mad because I kept posting stuff on the Women's Business Center site, and it kept going on his wall. He's like, I don't really care. I don't want that stuff necessarily on my wall. So I ended up setting up our own Women's Business Center site that comes off of my actual Facebook account, but you can become a fan of the Women's Business Center. And that's great, because then if I put a new event or anything, all I have to do is hit update fans. I no longer have to invite my friends. I can if I want to, but as far as we've gotten, I think, 200 or 300 fans of the Women's Business Center already, and all I have to do is update them that something new has happened. And and I share a lot of our events, which then goes on my wall, and then it goes to other people's wall as well. So now their friends are seeing what gets posted on our wall. My daughter, who lives in Hawaii, one of her friends is one of my friends too. He actually defriended me because I put too much stuff on my wall. So, with the Women's Business Center. But I truly feel that Facebook has really helped us to reach out. It's free if you don't do the ads. It doesn't cost anything to do that. And it's all a matter of making key contacts with key people. Don't become friends with people you don't know. Don't become friends with people that may put things on your wall that may not be appropriate, especially if you're a business. We were talking about that at a career panel I was on the other day. Using Facebook, don't have friends that put inappropriate things, because your employers will look at that. So your potential clients are going to look at your wall as well. So you need to be careful who your friends are and what you put up on the actual Facebook. Now, we use LinkedIn as well. But that group, it's just more for discussion. It's a great way to put up little things, a discussion, to get people interacting with each other via the internet. We don't use MySpace at all. I haven't even gotten into that. To me, MySpace is more for the younger generation, so we don't target that market. We are more here for helping women in business, but not necessarily just women. So it's all a matter of what you put on it and how you do it. I just think social media has worked out to be a really great format for us. Twitter also is a very great look at. CNN is on Twitter. You know, I've subscribed to them. It's like constant. You can get right up to the minute thing. And Twitter is just little, 140 characters or less, little statements that you can then also update your wall on Facebook automatically. You just type it in and it'll go. The blogs are a great tool to use as well, especially for some businesses that are just trying to get their names out there, which Jean Newell talked about earlier. So all of this media working together is really awesome. So anybody got any questions? Because I'm sorry, Matt's a lot better than me on this. I'm just doing the best I can. Okay. Well, thank you, everybody.
I do want to, on the heels of that, you mentioned Jean Newell again. Jean, as I said, Jean and I are going to be hosting a series of seminars in September and October called Meet the Media, or Networking with the Media. And if it is something that you think that you might be interested in signing up for, it will be a fee-for-service class seminar series. I do have an enrollment sheet up here. Jean also has one out at her booth if you want to see her as well. And if you want to let people know, they may have an interesting product, they may have an interesting business or service. We're going to be collaborating with television personalities. We're going to be collaborating with print media individuals to get you prepared so that you can get that article written about you or that interview done or a position on a news program like today. Jean Newell's been on Donnie Deutsch and Today show and a number of others. So she has got a great wealth of practical experience in that regard, and we would love to have you attend or certainly point people in that direction if you feel it might be helpful for your businesses or people that you know.
Well, thank you all for coming. Thank you, Tony, Jessica, and Jay. What's going to happen now is over in the vendor, we're going to do networking over in the vendor area. On that half hour, every half hour, we'll be drawing for door prizes. So I invite you and encourage you to mingle with the other vendors. Plus, people are still coming in to do a lot of networking, because this is really the key piece of this whole entire day, is getting people to know each other and share their businesses and make those relationships. So thank you.